everybody? Welcome back to the New and Experienced Investor Podcast. Today, we're talking about how to manage a property like a pro. It's definitely a show you don't want to miss. I'm Alex Barnett. I'm one of your hosts. I'm the new guy.
I'm Joe Holmes. That makes me the experienced guy.
Oh, yeah. We have an amazing guest with us today. He's a business development manager working to help property management companies set and achieve aggressive targets and fast growth. I can't wait to bring him on. Before we do, let's talk about our meetup really quick.
What date is it?
It's November 17th.
And our guest is going to be PropStream. Burton.
Yep.
Burton from PropStream.
Yep.
I'm going to have to buy Burton a drink because when we were at Bigger Pockets together, he offered to buy me a drink, but I'd already had it, my plate full.
Oh.
No, I didn't have a few. I don't drink.
Oh, okay.
But he offered, so that was nice.
That is nice.
So
well, hopefully you offer and then he declines and you guys are
even.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nobody
that's
had
possible.
to spend any money.
I don't know. I don't hang around with him a lot, but I don't think he drinks, but who knows?
I've seen him throw back a few.
Have you?
No. But
oh, come on.
he seems like he would. I always like to remind you guys that this is a live show. So bring your questions, throw them in the chat, and let's jump on into it. Let's go ahead and bring our guest in today. Today we have Alan Lubinsky. Alan, how you doing?
Pretty good as well. Thanks so much for asking. How about you guys?
We're doing great. Heck yeah.
Love to hear it.
Yeah, thanks so much for joining us. Why don't you go ahead and jump right into it? How did you get into real estate? What were you doing before and what led you there?
Yeah, absolutely. So I started out as pretty much everyone does, bottom of the barrel. I got my real estate license when I was 18 years old and didn't really know anything about the industry, just knew that I really wanted to make it. Started working for a boutique brokerage, kind of getting the hang of things, learning how to conduct myself in a professional manner. Coming out of high school, that was a bit of an adjustment for me. But after that, I kind of got the sense of how people work in that industry. I worked with my broker, who was also an investor, and he was doing small-time flips. And that's kind of where I first got exposed to property management. I first got exposed to what it means like to invest and what it means like to build wealth through investments. And I quickly started helping him on the management side of things before looking for my next step. And then I met some people at HomeRiver Group, property management, and I made the jump full swing and stopped doing real estate sales for the most part. And now I do property management full time.
I love that.
Nice.
Yeah. Property management is such an important skill, especially when you're thinking about purchasing cash flowing assets. That's what everybody in their mind is like. Passive income. That's what we're going for. And
Passive.
Then, yeah. And then you get your first rental and you're like, oh my God, what did I do? These people are always calling me. I don't know. If you don't have the skills, it seems like it's a pretty easy thing, but it's absolutely not. And I've gone through it. But
we don't want to talk about that.
Maybe you could give us some tips, for people that want to get cash flowing assets. How do they manage it themselves?
Sure. Absolutely. It really does come down to the systems you have in place. And there's a saying as old as time, you make your money when you buy, not when you sell. That applies all the more when it comes to rental assets. Because if a property doesn't cash flow from day one, even if you factor in whatever management fee, or if you're not using a manager, you're managing the property yourself, if you're not doing a good enough job of doing your homework before you acquire a property and it doesn't cash flow and you try to wait for it to cash flow, 9 times out of 10, you can't force it. So it's really important if you're getting into buying a long-term asset when it comes to rental income, you have to make sure that you dot all of your I's, you cross your T's, and make sure that thing can actually cash flow so you can get your money back. Otherwise, you're going to be stuck underwater with an asset that doesn't move for the most part.
You're here in California.
Yes, sir.
Is that where you do the property management here?
Yeah.
And so do you do small stuff or big stuff or both?
Both, to a certain extent. I mean, we're not taking on portfolios or apartment buildings that have hundreds of units. Realistically, our company, we specialize in single-family homes and multifamily homes up to 100 units. And you're right, Joe, I'm here in Southern California, but we're a nationwide company. We started out as a bunch of different hyper-local property management companies in most of the major markets. And in 2016, we kind of came together and became this larger group, essentially, in HomeRiver Group. But we kept all of our local presences. So you're right, I'm the guy here in Southern California, but there's someone just like me, maybe a little bit more handsome in another state as well. And we work together to make sure we have our people in all the places they need to be.
Would you recommend, somebody who has a small portfolio of 1 or 2 properties to manage it themselves?
I would say that it's definitely worthwhile for everyone to at least dabble in trying to self-manage their properties, just because then you learn what it takes to scale that. When I first converted my townhome into a rental property, I did all of the management myself because I knew some of the people that were in the neighborhood that were acted as my vendors when it comes to that. I didn't have any systems in place. I did all the rent collection myself automatically. And it gave me a good grasp of what I need to look for when I do work with the property manager, because then I have something to compare it to. If you haven't done it yourself, it's very difficult to know what you need in a property management partner.
Yeah, absolutely. And when do people sort of come to you? Is it after they've bought a property? Is it before they bought a property? Yeah. Are they like, I screwed up, can you help me? Like what's like your clientele? When do they come to you?
That's a great question. I honestly have seen it in every capacity. I've seen people that are, they inherited a property either through probate or through, just inheriting it through their trust. And they have no idea what to do with it. They're not sure if they're going to sell it or if they're going to try to rent it out, and they don't even know where to begin with that. On the other hand, it's, sometimes there are investors that have portfolios of single family, small multifamily homes, and they need a partner to be able to take on the entire portfolio. And they have anywhere from 40 to 50 or so properties spread about Southern California. And we come in and help. At the same, we're not going to, my mentality is it doesn't matter where you are in your investment journey, if you're just starting out or if you're seasoned, whether you're a new or experienced investor. At some point, if you want to scale and you want to grow and you want to buy back that time and really get a sense of that financial freedom, you need to work with a property manager. And so we'll take you on at any step of that process of growth.
Yeah. Okay. So that's great. And the reason I was asking is sort of on the point that you brought up earlier. Now, if somebody comes to you, they're underwater, they're not cash flowing, are you able to help them out, or are you like, get rid of this thing? What's sort of your play there?
It really comes down to fulfilling the best wishes and vision that the owner has and sharing that. If sometimes there are situations where it doesn't matter how hard we work, it doesn't matter how much we would, try to increase the rents or try to, think of some creative solutions like doing a cash for keys process with the tenants. Sometimes it kind of goes back to my original point. Somebody didn't do their homework. They bought a property that's not an asset, it's a liability. And the only thing we can say is, hey, we can manage this, but you're going to keep bleeding your money, unless one day you'd like to sell it, but keep some kind of cash flow in the meantime. At that point, sure. But for the most part, yeah, I mean, if there's a property that's not doing well, it's our responsibility as a partner, not just as a service provider, to say, hey, we can manage it, but it might not be doing too hot. And that's a conversation I have to have with owners sometimes when they're concerned, stressed, and the only solution might be to sell. But other times when it's something that has just been a lack, resulted because of mismanagement, or, they don't have all of their systems in place to be able to have the property really run as optimized and maximally efficient as they can, then there are opportunities for sure for a property management company to clean things up and really turn the liability into an asset because of the cash flow situation or whatever else might be happening.
Do you do any co-living spaces?
So that's something that we're exploring to do, co-living and medium-term rentals and anything that is not a long-term unfurnished rental. That's kind of what we built our business on, is long-term 12-month or more and unfurnished, just because that's what allows us to have as streamlined as a process. But we're definitely exploring the space of co-living, short-term, even some furnished rentals that might open up a way in a lot of markets that have that as a primary base of rentals.
Yeah, I was going to say that, sometimes, somebody's underwater, that may be the only option is to, hey, we got to pivot here, do a midterm rental, maybe get some more cash that way.
Yeah.
Do you find that the properties that are having the biggest trouble, or maybe like you said, someone didn't do their homework, they just didn't understand that it's beyond my mortgage minus, or what I'm bringing in minus my mortgage is my cash flow, and there it's like, oh no, you also have maintenance, you got capex, you got all those other things. Is that where you see people just don't understand actual cash flow?
A bigger reason of it is that it's that they take out the mortgage, the interest, and the property taxes, but they don't factor in the potential of there being vacancy or there being certain holding costs that have to do with setting up the rental as a cash producing business. A lot of the other times, it's just over relying on certain places where you might receive information about how much it could rent out for, and just overestimating that. So if they base, that they think their property is going to cash flow $5,000 because they saw numbers somewhere online, and they haven't really looked at the comps, and then it's cash flowing $4,000, and that $1,000 was supposed to be what covers a lot of their costs and their profit. Well, then there's not much they can do to have the market work in their favor. So that's a tough pill some people have to swallow. Other times it is just not factoring in certain costs. But also sometimes it's just a matter of bad luck, bad timing, where people are, their property is not renting out for whatever reason, maybe because they don't have as much visibility on it, or for whatever other reason. There's a lot of variables that can impact that. But somebody that really does their homework, and they see a property for what it is, it's hard for it to not cash flow when they do the right steps in order.
Tomorrow's Halloween. So I want to talk about horror stories.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm going to get you started. Okay.
Yeah.
I had an agent who he was leasing a property, just leasing, not managing, just leasing a property. He received a text from a tenant, said, "Is your home available for Section 8?" He said no. I see the expression on your face like, yeah. Oh my God, that was a mistake. Yeah, that was a $20,000 mistake. And I think he was set up because we did turn it into our E&O insurance, and they ended up paying this attorney $20,000. But they also told us that that attorney had like 10 more cases out. Yeah. So what kind of horror stories are there with property management?
Oh, you nailed a big one when it comes to saying no to Section 8. A lot of people just don't know that that's changed in California, where, we're required to accept all kinds of payment, including third-party payments like Section 8. Oh, man, a big horror story I've had recently was with an owner I was onboarding their property. It was a 5-unit property down in South LA. And this owner had long-term tenants. And this is kind of where the red flags begin to arise. When you've had long-term tenants, the property was heavily under market, no rent increases for a very long time. For those of rental prices in LA, $1,000 is there's a reason why he had long-term tenants for that kind of rental price. Mm-hmm. But the horror story began where we realized that there were no valid lease agreements for over 7 years. The owner lost the original ones, didn't keep up with the renewals. And when I tell you that it costs the owner more to get those tenants out than all of the cash flow he had gotten and accumulated for the past 7-8 years from all of those tenants, I'm not kidding. That's probably the one that comes to my mind first and foremost, of just seeing this owner's pains. All the tenants were all related to each other. None of them wanted to move. Many, many written notices, 60 days, 90 days. Nothing. So it got down to having to do a formal eviction. And once again, those who know California tenancy laws, it cost the owner a small fortune. So I definitely think that gave the owner enough of a spook in the theme of Halloween to be very careful about the lease agreements, very careful about staying on top of all the documentation and making sure you don't have people living in your property with no documentation that supports it whatsoever.
Is that why he came to you? Because he had that existing issue and he said, please resolve this for me?
Basically, to be honest, I didn't quite know how bad it was when I first started talking with this owner. He mentioned long-term tenants. He mentioned them paying way below market. I didn't know about the lack of lease agreements until I was starting to collect his information and get to know, as a property manager, we're required to have the lease agreements to be able to renew those and such. And when I realized there were none, we drafted the lease agreements for him. We implemented all of our resources to help this owner, but it was just such a bad situation because all of the tenants were in cahoots with one another, and it became a mess. It had to lead to eviction, which is something that nobody wants to go through, and property managers included. We always try to be proactive, not reactive to tenant issues, but this was a nail in his coffin when it comes to his ambitions for that property specifically.
You mentioned earlier you do cash for keys. What's the most you paid for cash for keys?
I had it was a 1-bedroom, 1-bath in Torrance, 390 square foot. The tenants asked for $25,000 and the owner paid.
Wow.
The rental upside was 29%, I think, on a multifamily building, and the owner he really believed in the long-term vision of the property. And he didn't even bother negotiating. He just wanted the tenants out of the property. He had this plan to build in the parking lot another 12-unit multifamily building. So for him, that $25,000 was just something he understood he had to bite the bullet on. But for a 1-bedroom, 1-bath, 390 square foot, that was the most I've seen, at least pound for pound when it comes down to it.
And if you were to hire an attorney, and I don't know if you have any in-house attorneys, but if you were to hire an eviction attorney, how much would that have cost?
We do have eviction attorneys. We have our legal team in-house, and that's the team that we had to implement to help this owner with the 5 units in South LA. It really does depend. The prices can vary. Depends how much the tenants fight the eviction in court. But I mean, you're looking at anywhere from mid 5 figures to low 6 figures to do a proper from start to finish eviction for a multifamily building when you have multiple tenants. For a single tenant, I think with court fees alone, you're looking at anywhere from $5,000 to $15,000.
Good Lord. Why is it that much?
She's using the wrong guy. We don't pay that much.
Well, no, I paid $1,500, I'd say. Yeah. But I mean, if it drags out, then that's the issue. And then in LA, certain areas, it's like they just tie the hands of the landlord.
Our guy won't do anything in LA, by the way.
Right.
We referred him, and he just basically told our friends no.
Yeah.
Yeah, Steve. I think. Well, it was.
I don't blame him.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
But that's kind of what I do if I have to go through that process as a cash for keys. But I always tell them, like, it's going to cost me $1,500 to $2,000 to get you out of here. Why would you want $25,000? It just doesn't make sense to me. I'd just rather evict you, and then that goes on your permanent record. And good luck trying to rent from somebody because they're going to pull that up and say, "Oh, look, he was evicted before. I don't want to rent to him."
I think they're just short-sighted, maybe.
I don't. They're greedy.
They're not really thinking about the long-term play. This is their big cash move.
Yeah, we do flips and stuff, and sometimes there's people that we have to evict out of there. And Alex has gone with me several times. He loves it. Yeah, he loves it.
I do. Yeah,
we go to court and and then film the tenants as they leave the court crying.
Hate when I film them. Yeah, they hate it. Just kidding.
I was added in some sad music as they're, getting their bags with the snow. That's horrible.
They do not do that.
I'm just joking. I don't. I did try and film Joe for a video one time, and some lady, I think she was at a different eviction thing. She's like, "You're filming me right now." I was like, "Oh shit!" All right. But
we go to court and the judge is up there and, Joe, do you want to give this person another 30 days? And in my head, I'm going, no. And of course, you have to say yes, because if not, the judge is going to say, well, I don't really care. I just was asking you as being polite. But yeah, so we go and then another 30 days goes down the tubes. So
well, and then we got the sheriff lockout, and we get there, and the sheriff's like, "Can you give him like another 30 days?"
Yeah,
this is the end.
This is it, done. Yeah,
I just saw an interesting X post about that where a guy had an eviction. The sheriffs came out, and the tenant basically was like, "I'm not leaving unless you put me in handcuffs." And they said, okay, we're not taking her then. And then a bunch of people in the comments were saying, like, now the police were in contempt of court because they didn't remove the tenant.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Interesting.
I agree. I agree.
Was that in California?
They didn't mention the state, but obviously everyone was like, this has to be California. And then everyone was like, delete this. Don't give the tenants any idea.
Or Washington. I know Seattle's like pretty bad like that too. Like, the cops will show up and they say, well, it's a civil matter. So then it's not criminal at that point. I don't know.
Have you guys heard the term professional tenant in your line of work?
Yeah.
I'm sure.
Yeah, no, I had one of those.
Yeah, he had
that's my horror story.
Really?
It's like I had one of those, and she like knew enough of the court system to
Just enough.
Yeah, to be, and she was like, I'm a paralegal. And I was like, oh, that's a good job. Yeah, come on in. And then let her in. And it was like letting the vampire in. Yeah. It's
invited them indoors.
Yeah, it was bad. So that's how you learn, I guess. Now I screen very particularly.
Very, very. Yeah, the last one we had, like 10 or 15 people?
Yeah.
So that's me screening.
Yeah. No, I haven't.
Oh, okay.
Screen them, but.
Yeah, but that was like 10 or 15, and I think like 14 of them had FICO scores under 600.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we finally found one. I couldn't believe her. It's like 800, where it's their FICO scores. Like, you never see that.
Never see
Diamond
it.
in the rough.
You never see. And then she liked it. And then we've had some issues, but like I was telling them, you always have issues. At least I do when I first rent a place. I just finished renting a place in Irvine. I got all the way back to the office. She calls me. She goes, Joe, the toilet's not flushing. I go, turn the water on. I tried that. It didn't work. So I had to go out there, and the painter had painted the water faucet, painted it
Shut. Like,
shut.
It was completely locked in place.
And then I got a wrench to open it, and obviously it broke, so I had to replace all that.
Wow.
But things like that happen.
But we haven't heard anything from them in like a week and a half. So
yeah, hopefully they're putting up their curtain rods and their curtains that they have, and
all scared.
Making it home.
I think they're moving in, but yeah, I mean the place sat vacant for 4 or 5 years, just kind of abandoned. So there was definitely going to be stuff.
Yeah, some issues.
Yeah.
Yeah, we resolved them.
Yeah.
We're fine.
We're fine. Everything's good now. Everything's good now. But we got systems in place.
You guys are like a walking or sitting commercial for using a property manager.
No,
right here and there.
No, totally. And that was the thing, was like I made the cardinal mistake of when I first got my first tenant in, I was just like gave her my phone number like a moron.
Okay.
And
the floodgates just opened up.
Yeah. I was like, just let me know if anything's wrong. Then I get text at like 4 a.m. Like I hear a noise outside the window. I'm like, what did I do? And they have software for that, or like make a maintenance ticket and then we'll deal with it. So, and then it just provides some expectation and a little bit of barrier.
That's one of the less, I guess, maybe talked about, but really big motivating factors that a lot of owners do have for property management is, even if let's say they have the experience, they have the tools to be able to do the maintenance work. They know the people, they have the vendors, right, that they've worked with. Realistically, it does come down to peace of mind. When you have a tenant that is living in one of your rental properties, and let's say they have your phone number, or let's say they know how to reach out, you know that at any point in the day, they can reach out to you, and that becomes your problem because that's your money on the line. And that peace of mind is something that I've seen a lot of owners go through extreme lengths to try to solve. starting with working with property management to, going all the way to just selling off their entire portfolios because they just don't want to deal with people. So if there's ever a reason to use a property manager, even if you have the maintenance side on lock, is we act as a wall to interface with the tenants. And sometimes that gets nasty. Sometimes the tenants get upset, especially when you're dealing with neighborhoods that aren't in the best conditions. If we're talking about the C to D neighborhoods, a lot of those times it might not even be very practical or safe to directly be interfacing with the tenants. So in those situations, it is important to outsource that, because what you get for peace of mind is, you can't really put a price on it.
Yeah, we're all chasing this passive income. If you're sweating, you're like at your kid's birthday party and they're like, the gas is shut off. What do I do? I'm like,
yeah,
that was a strange one. I hadn't dealt with that before.
I'm just going to put the phone down.
They had a device on there for earthquakes.
Like a seismic sensor?
Yes.
Or sensor, rather? Yeah.
Yes. And they went on YouTube and figured out how to reset it because the gas company wanted, how much did they want?
$80.
Yeah, like $80.
Outrageous.
Which is not a lot of money, but it's like, I'm glad that they went on YouTube and figured it out.
Yeah, and it's the gas company's sensor or whatever, right?
No,
it's ours.
No, it's yours. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's yours. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, no, it's yours. But I'm glad they did that.
Yeah.
Everything's on YouTube nowadays, right? You
The
can
best.
you can learn everything on YouTube.
Yeah.
We're on
back
YouTube
10
right
years.
now.
We are.
Yeah, I watched speaking of Halloween, we watched a horror movie the other day. I don't know what it was. It wasn't like gory or anything, but it took place in like the 1920s, 1930s. This girl, she's like from the country, goes to New York, and then it's in the dead of winter, and she rents a room at a multifamily place, and she's like freezing in the room, and then comes down, and she's like, "There's no heat." She's like, "Yeah, you didn't pay for any heat or water. You just got the room. There's no heat and no water."
Isn't that co-living? That's co-living.
It was such simpler times back then.
Sounds like some Great Depression landlording there.
There was like rooms with heat and water, and then there's some rooms with no heat, no water. It was just a
Pay
room.
extra for the difference, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Prorate the room based
Yeah.
on hot water.
Yeah, so I was like, we've come a long way, and now it's LA. They're trying. This is the word on the street. They're trying to make it basically illegal to evict somebody. What are your thoughts?
It's been tried in the past as well. I don't remember the specific legislation propositions off the top of my head, but they've tried, and they've slowly over the years done that just by giving tenants more rights in general when it comes to, what we've seen in the past couple of years with squatters. It's mostly on the coast, but you see it some inland as well. Realistically, I actually think that completely outlawing evictions is not just bad on the landlords, but it comes around doubly bad for the tenants as well, because then the landlords have to be even more proactive when it comes to their selection process. Because of equal housing, fair housing, you're not really able to pick and choose like apples your tenants. There's a criteria that you have. Well, if eviction becomes completely illegal, then the landlords and the companies that represent the landlords are going to be forced to have the tenant criteria be even more strict. And that's just going to lead to all of the top applicant tenants being kind of funneled in. And a lot of people are just not going to be able to qualify for the majority of housing. So I can't see that ending well for either the landlords or for the tenants. I think there have to be systems in place that enable any contract, for the most part, to be terminated under this very right specific circumstances. So I suppose we'll see. I don't think it's going to happen, but you never know, especially not in California when it comes to that. You really never know.
You never know.
You never know. Also, fact, you can't cash flow in California. Is that true?
False.
Oh, okay.
It's true. It's true if you try to just purchase a turnkey property. 99% of the time, it's not going to cash flow. But as we are, getting into the realm of investing and learning about both creative financing strategies and learning about things like house hacking, which in California is one of the best states to do that. Do you guys go over that kind of stuff in your other episodes as well when it comes to the podcast?
We haven't. I mean, people bring it up, but we
Yeah.
haven't really dove deep into it.
No.
Sure. Well, long story short, if you're able to purchase a multifamily building, a duplex, triplex, whatnot, and live in one of the units and rent out the other units, it will definitely help you pool your equity together. And then eventually, if you move out, that property can cash flow. Other situations are if you buy a property that's distressed and you do some value add to it. And those situations, because of the amount of appreciation you're forcing from the property, you are able to cash flow the property over the long term if your financing makes sense. It really does come down to financing in California, but if you're creative enough and if you're determined enough to find the right deal for it, you can absolutely cash flow in California, and you can cash flow very well in California.
Nice. Do you have like are you full California, or like do you kind of just only SoCal, or what's kind of your
My
area?
personal portfolio. So I have my portfolio is relatively small. I have a condo and I have a townhome, both of which were personal properties that I converted into rentals. I'm looking at a state though, and actually meeting Joe at the Bigger Pockets conference, I met some really great people at a state that have a foot in the door when it comes to certain markets that I think are definitely up and coming when it comes to great markets to invest in long-term rentals for.
Can you share some?
Sure, I'm happy to. We've all heard of Ohio. We've heard of the Columbus, Cincinnati. Toledo is actually a market that I've heard a lot of great news about. And I can give you some facts to back it up. For one, the mayor in Toledo has been putting in, I think it's $45 to $50 million annually into infrastructure, stable growth in the area. The home prices there are typically a lot lower than Columbus and than Cincinnati, so the barrier to entry is a lot lower. And for the most part, I mean, the rents there are they're just as competitive as in some of the bigger markets as well. So I would keep your eyes out on Toledo. Anything else in the Midwest, I think it's a really safe bet. If the deal makes sense on paper, it's probably going to make sense in practice too. But you have to have the right people, boots on ground, that will make that process work for you. And that comes down to investing out of state in any market. If you don't have the right people there, a good deal on paper can turn into a disaster in practice.
Sure. Of your clients that are here in California, would you say most of them are people that have inherited properties that are I guess free and clear, or like what's kind of like the majority of people that work with you?
A lot of the people that I work with are free and clear. They either inherited their property through a parent or and such, or they have converted, similar to what I did, their primary residence into a rental. That being said, that those are not the only clients we work with. A big majority of our clients are either seasoned investors as well that have portfolios, or they are people, as I mentioned, that try to manage their property, made some mistakes, innocent mistakes, but mistakes that have compounded over time to now they need some help. And because we're a national company, we have the resources to be able to inject whatever capital is needed into an area, into a market, to really help the investors out there by having a team on site that can help get them out of the hole that either they dug or the property itself dug over a long period of time.
Okay. And what are some areas that you're seeing like some stable rent growth in SoCal?
San Diego is extremely lucrative just because there's never enough housing in San Diego. So if you're one of the people that hold some of the chips, you can really make your money back quickly. I would say San Diego is really great. Besides that, anything in Riverside County is very stable. There's not much happening when it comes to major legislation there. So odds are if you buy a property in Riverside, within the next couple of years, not much will change that will make that a deal breaker if something was to happen. But realistically, anywhere in the big markets, whether it's Los Angeles or San Diego, there are deals out there. Not all of them might make sense if you just look at it at face value. But that's where we get into, if you're creative enough to find a deal that can cash flow after you do X, Y, and Z to it, or if you partner with the right people to do it. I think any market in Southern California is viable. I think most markets in general can be viable, but I personally think San Diego's a really hot market for stable growth, stable appreciation, and great cash on cash return for your rental.
Okay. And they already know I'm going to ask this, but you got any mobile homes?
You know, I had an owner call me 2 weeks ago that owned an entire mobile park. Similar to what Brandon Turner does with mobile homes, right? Probably following in his footsteps. And she really wanted us to manage them. That's another thing that we're trying to implement is unconventional housing, whether it's manufactured homes or mobile homes. It's definitely in the future. I mean, realistically, for HomeRiver Group, Southern California is a very hot market, but we've only been in this market for a few years. Most of our base of growth has been happening around the Sun Belt, so it's kind of on my shoulders to really bring the strength and leverage that we've had on the Sun Belt regions. More importantly, Georgia, Pennsylvania, to Southern California. So a lot of these things that we're talking about now, I wouldn't be surprised if within the next year or two are implemented aggressively, because people do whatever they can to make their properties, or mobile homes for that matter, cash flow, and they need somebody to manage it. So we'd like to be able to fill those niches as well.
That's great. Yeah, I would look into the co-living thing, because there's not too many managers right now that are doing that. And if you guys have the infrastructure to be able to build out a system, I think that could be really good.
Yeah. No, I completely agree with you. It's definitely, we discuss different types of housing and different types of management that we can do. We're probably never going to fully be open to things like short-term rentals, just because there's a lot that goes into it.
Yeah.
You need somebody really local that can do all of the turnover and all of the cleaning and such and stuff like that. But when it comes to less conventional housing, mobile homes, definitely in the window in the near future. I would not be surprised if it's implemented within, like I said, next year or two.
There we go. That's what I like to hear. Yeah. Awesome. This is the part of the show where we've curated several videos.
Fun.
And I want to get your reaction right now.
Okay. Live, unfiltered, unedited reaction. I love it.
Let it rip.
Okay, the first video is do not hire a property management company.
Ooh.
Very cool.
Loading.
What a lot of people don't know about hiring a property management company to run your rental is not only do they take 10, 15, 20% of the gross rent, not off the net, off the gross, but they also don't pay for any of the repairs. That's still on you to do. What a lot of people don't know about hiring a property management company to run your...
pissed.
You probably got some got a PMA that has a 15% marker on it for management fee, and I would be reasonably upset if I was in his shoes too. He does make a point where, yes, property management companies, we don't pay for any of the repairs, their own. The management fee, however, I don't know what market he's in, so I don't want to outright say anything, but I personally, at least here in Southern California, have not seen a management fee more than 10%. Our company, for example, in SoCal, we have a pretty standard 6% management fee.
Ooh.
I know. It's anything that's single digits.
Pretty good.
That's
it
really
sounds
good.
pretty decent, right?
Yeah.
But what you get for the management fee isn't so much that we're going to be paying for the maintenance, but we're going to be doing all of the coordination and putting its systems in place. So with each property you acquire, it's in the back of your mind when it comes to all the day-to-day operations. We want you to be able to focus on the big picture, which is maintaining, optimizing, and scaling your portfolio. And you can't do that when you're fixing toilets. It's why I always tell my clients, don't build toilets, build systems. And that's kind of what a property management's job should be, is to align with the vision of an owner and to go from there. But yeah, interesting about the management fee on that guy. I really hope he didn't sign a PMA that has a 20% management fee for a long-term rental.
Sure. And I have heard of, in every property management company is going to be, different, where they have their vendors that they always use, and then they'll be like, okay, we got to, send in just like, we got to get some maintenance.
Right.
It'll be $300 from the contractor. And then they add like $200 on there for themselves.
Yeah.
So is that a typical sort of game, or is that, I guess that is typical sort of play?
Upcharging is I would say more common than not, but if you're being upcharged, what is that? 200 on 300 is 66% or whatever that is. I would definitely think twice before going with a property manager that's upcharging that much. Most companies that do upcharge, the way they do it is they've been working with vetted vendors for 10, 20 years, and they're actually able to get a pretty big discount with working with that vendor. So that extra 10%, which is what our company upcharges, that doesn't really come out from the owner's pocket. If anything, that's the price that we incur by having these relationships for a very long time, and we're able to get a generally cheaper quote and bid for a work order than if somebody was just to call a vendor first day, get somebody to do a repair on the job. But a $200 on $300 work order is preposterous. I definitely would think twice before working with a company that does that.
Wow, I'm believing everything you're telling me right now.
It's the truth. I'm a pretty transparent person.
Okay, good. All right, what do we got next?
Ready for the next one? Okay, we've got avoid costly mistakes.
We've been burned for tens of thousands of dollars for my owners for that decision right there. I can tell you that. And those are hard conversations to have with an owner. When you approve tenants in there that you took a chance on, and on paper, they just didn't look that good. Those are mistakes. So don't trust your gut. I know we want to feel good about people. We want to think they're really going to make it, but don't take that chance. You guys, if they don't look good on paper, stick to your boundaries. You have guidelines for a reason. If you have guidelines, if you don't have them, start establishing them and stick to that lane.
Yeah, absolutely true. There are times where you owners are feeling the pressure of the property sitting without a tenant, and they just want to get anybody in there, and they meet somebody and they seem nice and they have a cute dog and it's perfect. But then you get to the part where you have to evict them, and you realize that you should have been a little bit less personally involved in that decision. Guys, I really can't emphasize enough how important it is to stick to a tenant criteria, especially in states like California. But all in all, if a person does not look good on paper, it's for a reason. It's not because somebody's out to get them. It's because they made choices, or they were in circumstances that have led to them not being as desired of a tenant. Of course, everyone's going to have a different window. They're all going to have a different criteria. But if someone just doesn't make sense on paper, they're not going to make sense based on meeting them or learning about them or what they like to do for fun. It has to be professional. If you're running your business like a business and not like a hobby, you have to make professional decisions, and that involves with people management as well.
And I'll tell you, they always have a story
Oh,
for
yes.
why.
Always.
And I fall for it.
He does. He does. Yeah.
I mean, you get an elderly lady.
Yeah.
She's like, my husband just went through cancer. We put everything on the credit cards, and I had a hard time paying for those. So that's why there's a little bit of a ding on my credit. Can I still come in, please? I'm very cold, sir. I'm very, very cold out here.
You're going to make me seem like the Grinch who stole Christmas by that horse.
That's why we're going to pay you the big bucks.
That's why, yeah, exactly. I mean, if you're talking about another reason to use a property manager, I mean, no matter what your business is, you're going to feel the guilt. You're going to feel not the best about it when it comes to an elderly lady, such as that depiction. Unfortunately, that story will go as far as it can until the rent stops coming in.
Yeah.
And at that point, you can feel as sorry and offer as much condolences to the person. But when you're now losing a lot of money every month because you have a mortgage to pay and she's not paying rent and she doesn't want to leave because she has nowhere else to go, it's difficult to get out of that situation. So my only advice is to try your best not to get into it in the first place.
That's it.
As sad as that is, as much sympathy in my heart as I have for people like that, it just, if it doesn't make sense financially and you're running a business, it can't go down to sympathy, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Alan, as real estate agents, we put properties for lease, and it's been in the past, but it's changed. That it used to be a commission that's paid for, an agent bringing in a tenant and stuff. My philosophy, honestly, has always been that I have to interview the tenant. I do that in person, and the reason I do that is because I've been doing this for such a long time that I get red flags all the time. It's like, yeah, Joe, yeah, just like your story. Yeah, Joe, it's like the reason that's there is because it was COVID, and I got laid off, or the other ones I hear is I got divorced, and my husband was really mean to me, and he racked up a bunch of credit card bills and stuff.
It's
and
not her fault, Joe.
obviously, it was our account, and so I got dinged for it as well. So it's like, do you do personal vetting of tenants?
Usually how our system works is we follow a hierarchy of priorities. So the first thing we'll do is we'll do the rental criteria. If someone goes through our application and they check every box off when it comes to having the credit score, we pull their tax records, there's nothing like that. There's no outstanding loans or liens or anything along those lines. And we get them, there's no bankruptcy, and they're ready to go, move into the property. Yes, we will have a conversation with the tenant on behalf of the owner, because there might be some things that it's not fully showing. That being said, we're not there in that meeting to look for red flags. We're there to confirm the green flags, because at the end of the day, for fair and equal housing, if someone looks good on paper, it's as good as you're going to get without knowing what's going to happen in the future, without having some prophetic, foresight. But of course, we'll have a conversation with the person. We want to make sure that they are who they say they are, that the papers that they have, the documentation reflects them. And when the two of them align, the person that we're talking to and the person who they are on paper, that's when we know we have a good tenant. When there's no discrepancies, when there's no variables that we can't control, when it's as they say they really are, and short of, some crazy change of behavior that is completely unprecedented and doesn't reflect at all on their history, we have to, at that point, trust the documentation and trust the process to verify that they are a good tenant. But there have been some times where if somebody looks really great on paper and you talk to them, and it's very clear that this person, for the most part, had their parents, for example, doing everything for them, everything. And they're just out of college and they have a credit score because they were on their mom's credit card, and they've lived in student housing that was paid by their parents. And now they're alone working whatever job they have, and their income score, their parents aren't co-signing, for example, their income qualification isn't enough. And it doesn't matter how good they look. At that point, when you get to peel back the layers and realize that the only reason this person looks as good on paper is because of things they didn't control and things that were just happening to them because of their parents, for example, that's when it's important to have those conversations, because that fully takes the pink colored sunglasses off and you finally see the person for who they are. But more often than not, if they're good on paper, they are good on paper, then they usually are a great person in practice too.
I had an application, and you always ask for a reference. The reference was his mother.
Yeah.
And I called the mother, and mother says, "I'm sorry to say this, Joe, but if you rent to my son, you're a fool."
No way the mom sold him out.
The mom told me that.
That's amazing.
Yeah, the mom told me that. And I said, thank you for being so honest with me. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
I wasn't actually going to call her. It's like, why would you call somebody's mom,
That's good.
as a reference? You're going to get glowing, reviews.
You would think.
Oh, no. She said, "Oh, Joe, you'd be a fool if you rented to him."
Wow. Wow.
Do you, on top of all the documentation, do just a basic Google search of the person's name?
Facebook.
Yeah,
Instagram.
did you go deep into that? Name v, blank V name.
So Typically, no.
Oh.
Just because at the rate that we're operating, it's difficult to screen every single person when it comes to their social media. But for fun's sake, sometimes I personally do that.
Okay.
Not to do with our normal systems and operations, but we get an
Understood.
application. Somebody's got a very interesting name. You know, I'll bite. And I've had some pretty interesting things come up.
Right.
Nothing that's ever, to be honest, disqualified a person from
Okay.
a property, from being eligible. But just some really interesting things that give you an idea of who the person is beyond the professionalism. What about you guys? Have you seen any?
I was going to say you would have let in a professional tenant because the one that I had checked out all the boxes because every time she got an eviction, she got it sealed. And that's a thing in California.
yeah,
You can get it sealed if you settle. Sealed.
Doesn't even show up.
After we let the person in and it started going sideways, she does a Google search and it's like, brr, she's just like
Court
litigious.
documents.
Suing everybody left and
Wow.
right, involved in all these lawsuits. So it could be an extra thing to add to the, because you could keep your record clean and be a psycho outside of that.
No, absolutely. I mean, there's always that possibility, and certain things like sealed records can be a problem point. What we really try to do is we don't really ever rely on things like word of mouth references or things like that. I mean, we go through everything. We pull their tax records. We develop our own software that kind of does that internet scrubbing as well. So if there is anything like that, we're not manually looking up the person.
Okay, I got you.
It goes through our own HRG application, and then that's what it kind of scrubs through the barrel.
That makes sense.
But I imagine if you're doing it without any kind of software that does it for you, it would definitely be a bit of a shocker to see all of those court cases that just come up like, whoa, who even is this person, right? No, I mean, once again, California, you got to watch out for those kinds of things, guys. It's a problem.
Yeah, and so when we finally evicted her, we made sure not to like seal it. We're like, we gotta let other people know.
Yeah, once again,
like let people know.
Yeah.
Who knows if it's even not sealed?
Oh, all right. Well, dang, that was my whole hope.
She's
for
not
the...
an optimist.
It's like,
I think it's
we
sealed.
finally broke the seal.
It probably
That's
is
what I
sealed. I think you can petition it.
Let Alex live his moment. It's sealed, okay?
It's probably sealed.
Yeah.
No, I don't want it sealed. It's unsealed.
He's a whistleblower.
unsealed.
Come on,
Yeah.
he wants everyone
exactly.
to know.
I'm a whistleblower. I'm
Yeah.
brave. Okay.
Well,
There actually, a long time ago, I'm thinking like 20 years ago, there used to be a website where you would put bad tenants.
Yeah,
into it.
shame.
And
I think
then-
it was literally called like badtenant.com or like
Yeah,
.org.
something like that, yeah.
I've seen that.
And I'm sure they got sued and they had to take it down or whatever. But I
the
wish
80s were
we
cool.
could do that.
That was the 90s.
Yeah,
You could do that
I wish
stuff.
we could do that.
Yeah.
Start it up.
Let's do it. Anonymous.
I would love to see how quickly the Equal and Fair Housing Committee knocks on your door.
Yeah. No, we run it with an offshore
Oh,
IP
in the
and-
Bahamas. And
Exactly.
yeah, I see.
Yeah, and we have to go to the Bahamas to set it up and
Yeah.
Hawaii.
Shell Company Owen in Dubai.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just to
Yeah.
name off
It's
some
just-
bad tenants.
Just corporate expenses,
And I will say on the other side, there have been some bad landlords, and that's the reason why some of these things
Yeah.
are in place.
Yes.
True.
Slumlords. I mean, I
True.
still see it to this day. I'm like, how are you getting away with this? But, then you have the tenant who doesn't want to say anything because they have a place to stay.
Yeah.
But it's completely run down. And
Those are the hard cases where, I mean, and we've seen this happen on our end as well, where we're working with the landlord and owner, and we very quickly realized that up until he's been managing with us, he's been violating 5, 6, 7 tenant rights without even knowing it, just because his attitude is kind of like, oh, if there's a problem, they'll let me know. And once again, I mean, he's been lucky that the tenant's been pretty gracious overall about the pier because it's like a nice place and they need a place to stay. But sometimes it really is just the landlord's fault. And that's why we do have these rules in place. I'm always an advocate for having as much rights for tenants within reason, right? Because we want it to be an equal playing field. landlords are providing a service or commodity. Tenants are sustaining the market by doing so. It's a team sport. I mean, both parts need to play fair for it to make sense for anybody. Otherwise, we're not going to have an industry to work in anymore, right?
There you go.
Yeah.
I think we have one more video. Do we?
Yeah, we got one more video.
Okay.
Let's go here. Home management and the illusion of scale.
It does not get easier to manage homes by managing more of them. There's no efficiencies of scale in managing homes. It's the opposite. It's diseconomies of scale. It gets harder and harder and harder the more you grow, just because you're adding people. When you add people, you need to add management and layers and, you know, more benefits and just more overhead. You end up with 3 or 4 people touching every single issue, which isn't a great experience. You know, they call a call center, it goes to a local manager, it goes to a GM. People get bounced around. That's not just expensive, it's also not a good experience for the guest because they have trouble. You know, they want to talk to somebody who knows their issue and can resolve it and is local. It does not get easier to manage.
There's actually quite a bit to unpack there. I'll start off by just kind of recapping with what he said, and I'll break it down. So, what he was saying was that you know, the common trope that he's implying is that the more homes you start to manage, the easier it gets. But in reality, what he's saying is it gets harder because now for each individual property of multiple people touching it, if that's how you manage your properties, yes. If you manage each individual property as this is A, B, C, D, and now when you only had one property to manage, now you're having to manage that times 4. So the effort is just duplicated or multiplied 4x. What I would say to that is it means that there are not enough systems in place to make that process actually become easier. So let me give you an example. When you're managing one property, like you started, you can do it yourself. There's one per tenant, one door. You know who to call for that property. Okay, now you have 2. Theoretically, you have double the work. 3, you have triple the work. And every time you add a property, your own effort goes up, right? That's why it's important to have systems in place, such as having somebody that would be able to be coordinating just the maintenance for all of those properties. So you're not the one doing the maintenance coordination. You're not the one doing the maintenance anymore, but you have one person that goes through and handles all of the vendors for each of the properties collectively. Then you have somebody else that can be the person that's doing the rent collection, or have that be the same person. Point is that you really don't need that many people to manage a full portfolio. As long as you have a team that you're comfortable with, whether it's local property managers or the people that you work with as partners, realistically, you are able to grow and you're able to get that economies of scale, but it comes in the form of cash flow, not in terms of effort, because the effort is in building those systems. It stops being doing the handyman repair work and it starts being managing the people that are managing your property. And that's just a shift in mindset going from kind of like that self-employed sector to the business sector, because now you're not managing a property, you're managing a business. So I think that's what I can say on that point.
Yeah.
Great answer.
This guy is
Great
like on fire
answer.
right now.
Wow.
You guys gave me a great
That
topic
was
to talk
awesome.
about.
That was awesome.
I see why
I
they put
totally
you
agree 100%
in
of what you
charge.
just said.
Yeah.
That was
That's great.
awesome.
Yeah.
We have a couple people in the chat.
All right, let's get to it.
Okay, we have Liz with a question.
All right.
What are 3 major mistakes you see new property owners make when they try to self-manage their own rentals?
Great question, Liz. No particular order. Mistake number 1, rushing the tenant screening process, because the tenant is what is your business. Your business is not the property. Realistically, your business is the tenant, because the property doesn't generate money out of nothing. It's the tenant that pays for it. Number 2, assuming you're never going to have any issues with the tenant or any issues with the property, such as vacancy, maintenance, permits, whatever else. And number 3, it's kind of what I said at the very beginning, assuming that just because your property is not cash flowing now, it will someday cash flow. That can happen, but it's entirely speculative. If you're doing this to run a business, you can't feel you can't go off of feeling. So yeah, going too quickly with the tenants, not expecting there to be periods of downturn, not, I guess, budgeting accurately would be more accurate, not having like a 5% reserve for for maintenance, vacancy, that kind of thing. And 3 would be being too overly enthusiastic and speculative just to get a rental property versus really sitting down, crunching the numbers, and making sure it will cash flow from day one.
Amen.
We got Rami in the chat, and he says, California vibes. I told my tenant, you're behind on rent. He said, no, you're ahead on expectations.
Nice.
I like that guy. That's funny.
That's pretty good. Awesome. Love it. Very cool. Well, Alan, this was really knowledgeable and
Very informative.
yeah, very informative. Yeah, very informative.
Very informative.
You're very knowledgeable. It was very informative.
Yes.
How can people get a hold of you or Home River Group?
Sure. Our website is straight up HomeRiver.com. If you're an owner and you're looking to get your property manager, just explore what that even means, even without any kind of formal commitment. Just go onto there. You can get in contact with anybody in your individual market, whether it's in California or Georgia or wherever that may be, through our website. And we work a lot with agents as well when it comes to our growth sector. So if you're an agent and you're looking to have a property management partner in Southern California, it's just homeriver.com/agents, and we'll be able to find out all the information of how to get in contact with us and what we can do to fill a gap in your solution management, being a property management solution for agents to utilize as well.
Thank you so much.
Thank you guys. It was an absolute pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for joining us and jumping in the chat and sharing this far and wide. We will be back here in 2 weeks because Joe's going on a cruise. And then we also have our meetup on the 17th. So make sure to connect with us and we'll see you on the next one. Thank you.
See you later. If you want some more advice on real estate investing, reach out to us one-on-one.